Scientists have uncovered a new blood type, and right now there's only one person in the world that has it.
Artificial intelligence just analyzed millions of blood samples and found something unexpected about type O. The science behind them? Not so much. What AI actually found has nothing to do with conspiracy theories or secret mutations. It has everything to do with how we've misunderstood blood genetics for decades. Join us to analyze the real story behind the viral claims, the actual science AI uncovered, and why type O blood might be the most fascinating genetic mystery we've inherited from our ancestors. What makes blood type O genetically unique? Your blood type isn't just a label on a medical chart. It's written into your DNA, coded by a single gene that decides how your red blood cells present themselves to the world. That gene is called ABO, and it sits quietly on chromosome 9 doing one very specific job. It builds enzymes that decorate the surface of your red blood cells with sugar molecules. Think of these sugars like identification tags. If you have type A blood, your cells wear A tags. Type B wears B tags. Type AB wears both. And type O wears nothing at all. But here's where it gets interesting. Type O isn't missing something by accident. It's the result of a genetic mutation that happened thousands of years ago. A deletion in the ABO gene that stops the enzyme from working. The gene is still there. It just can't finish the job. The enzyme it tries to build is broken, unable to attach those sugar markers to your cells, so your red blood cells stay blank. No A, no B, just clean, unmarked surfaces. This might sound like a disadvantage, like your blood is incomplete somehow, but evolution doesn't keep mistakes around for long. Type O is the most common blood type on Earth. Nearly half of all humans carry it. In some populations, especially in Central and South America, that number climbs past 70%. If type O was a flaw, it wouldn't have survived this long. It wouldn't dominate entire continents. Scientists believe type O may have been the original blood type, the baseline from which A and B evolved later. As humans migrated out of Africa and encountered new environments, new diseases, new diets, mutations in the ABO gene created variations. Some populations developed type A, others developed type B, but type O remained stubborn and resilient because in many environments it offered advantages we're only now beginning to understand. Here's what type O actually means in genetic terms. You inherit one ABO gene from each parent. If both copies are the O variant, you're type O. If you inherit one O and one A, you're type A because A is dominant. Same with B. The O version only shows up when you inherit two copies. It's recessive, not defective. It's a variation, not a void. The myth that type O is somehow unfinished comes from old misunderstandings about what blood types actually are. People used to think type O was missing antigens, as if antigens were something every blood type should have. But antigens are just molecular markers. They're not essential for survival. They're identifiers. Type O simply chose a different strategy. Instead of marking itself, it stayed neutral, and that neutrality has consequences. Because type O red blood cells don't carry A or B markers, they won't be attacked by antibodies in people who have type A, B, or AB blood. That makes type O the universal red blood cell donor. In emergencies, when there's no time to test a patient's blood type, doctors reach for type O. It's the safest bet. But here's the flip side. If you have type O blood, your body makes antibodies against both A and B. That means you can only receive type O blood in return. Universal donor, but not universal receiver. This is the foundation. This is what makes type O genetically distinct, not disturbed. It's a working system, refined over millennia, shaped by survival and chance. The enzyme doesn't work, but that's not a bug. In evolutionary terms, it might have been a feature. What AI discovered later wasn't a hidden flaw in this system. It was patterns in how this system interacts with the rest of human biology, patterns too complex for humans to spot without help. But before we get to AI, we need to understand what AI is actually capable of reading in human blood. What AI can actually decode. Artificial intelligence doesn't look at blood the way a lab technician does. It doesn't examine slides under a microscope or run chemical tests to see which antibodies react. AI reads blood at the genetic level, scanning through millions of data points in seconds finding patterns buried so deep in the genome that human researchers would need years to uncover them manually. But to understand what AI actually discovered about type O, you first need to understand what AI can and cannot do with human DNA. Machine learning models trained on genetic data can predict your blood type with over 99% accuracy just by analyzing specific markers on chromosome 9. They don't need to see your blood. They just need your genome sequence. The ABO gene has predictable variations, and AI systems have been taught to recognize those variations instantly. Feed the algorithm a DNA sample, and it will tell you whether you're type A, B, or O faster than a traditional blood test could process. But prediction is just the beginning. Where AI becomes powerful is in pattern recognition across massive data sets. Researchers can feed an AI system the genetic information of 1 million people, along with their medical histories, and the algorithm will start connecting dots. It finds correlations between blood type and disease risk, between specific gene variants and immune responses, between population ancestry and antigen distribution. These are connections no single scientist could map by hand. The data is too vast. There are too many variables. This is what people mean when they say AI is decoding human blood. It's not cracking some secret code hidden in your cells. It's sorting through enormous amounts of information and highlighting relationships that matter. Think of it like a search engine for biology. You ask it a question, and it scans every relevant study, every genome database, every clinical trial record to give you an answer backed by data. AI has been used to identify rare blood subtypes that traditional testing might miss. Some people carry unusual variants of the ABO gene, tiny mutations that don't show up on standard panels, but can cause serious transfusion reactions. Machine learning models trained on genetic sequences can flag these variants before they cause problems. Hospitals are starting to use AI systems to match donors with recipients more safely, predicting compatibility based on dozens of factors beyond just ABO and Rh type. AI also helps predict how much blood a patient might need during surgery. By analyzing factors like body weight, medical history, type of procedure, and yes, blood type, predictive algorithms can estimate transfusion requirements with surprising accuracy. This saves time. It saves blood. It reduces waste in blood banks that operate on razor-thin margins. But here's what AI has not done. It has not found a secret mutation in type O that scientists somehow missed for a century. It has not uncovered a hidden genetic defect that makes type O dangerous. It has not revealed that type O carriers are doomed to some mysterious fate. What AI has done is analyze existing medical data faster and more thoroughly than humans ever could. It has confirmed things scientists already suspected. It has quantified risks that were previously hard to measure. It has made the picture clearer, not scarier. The real medical trait linked to blood type O. Type O blood comes with a trade-off. On one side, you get protection from certain diseases. On the other hand, you face higher risks in specific medical situations. These aren't theories or viral claims. They're documented traits that researchers have been studying for years, long before AI entered the picture. What artificial intelligence did was help scientists measure these traits more precisely, analyze them across larger populations, and understand why they exist at the biological level. But the traits themselves, they were never hidden. Start with the heart. People with type O blood have a lower risk of heart attack and stroke compared to those with type A, B, or AB. The reason comes down to a protein called von Willebrand factor, which helps your blood clot. Type O individuals naturally have lower levels of this protein in their bloodstream. Less clotting factor means blood flows more freely through your arteries. It's harder for dangerous clots to form and block circulation to your heart or brain. In populations where heart disease is the leading cause of death, this is a significant advantage. Type O carriers are statistically less likely to die from cardiovascular events. But that same trait becomes a problem when you're bleeding. Lower clotting factor means your blood doesn't coagulate as quickly when you're injured. In trauma situations, car accidents, gunshot wounds, severe falls, type O patients lose blood faster than other blood types. They require more transfusions. They're more likely to go into shock. Studies on battlefield injuries and emergency room data show this pattern clearly. Type O blood flows easier, and that's excellent for your arteries but dangerous when your skin is broken. Women with type O face higher risks during childbirth. Postpartum hemorrhage, the leading cause of maternal death worldwide, hits type O mothers harder. After delivery, the uterus needs to clamp down and stop bleeding from where the placenta detached. That process relies on clotting. If your blood doesn't clot as efficiently, you bleed longer and heavier. Doctors in maternity wards have known this for decades. AI just helped them quantify the risk more accurately by analyzing thousands of birth records and identifying which factors, including blood type, predict severe bleeding. Then there's infectious disease. Type O offers some protection against malaria, one of the deadliest parasites in human history. The malaria parasite infects red blood cells, and it has a harder time binding to type O cells because they lack the A and B surface markers the parasite prefers. In regions where malaria has been endemic for thousands of years, type O became more common because carriers were more likely to survive and pass on their genes. But type O increases vulnerability to cholera. The bacteria that causes cholera binds more easily to type O cells in the intestines, leading to more severe infections. In areas where cholera outbreaks occur, type O patients experience worse symptoms, more dehydration, higher mortality. Evolution gave with one hand and took with the other. Stomach ulcers are another weak point. Type O individuals are more susceptible to infection by Helicobacter pylori, the bacteria responsible for most ulcers. The bacteria attaches to stomach lining cells, and for reasons scientists are still working out, it attaches more successfully to type O cells. People with type O are more likely to develop ulcers, more likely to have complications, and more likely to need treatment. This isn't a new discovery. Doctors noticed the pattern back in the mid-20th century. What's new is understanding the molecular mechanism behind it, and AI helped map those interactions by analyzing genetic data alongside infection rates. These differences exist because of how blood type antigens interact with the immune system and with pathogens. Your ABO status affects which receptors sit on the surface of your cells, and those receptors determine how bacteria, viruses, and parasites can attach and invade. It's not that type O is broken, it's that every blood type comes with its own set of biological trade-offs, shaped by the environments our ancestors survived in. None of this is disturbing in the way social media claims suggest. It's biology, it's measurable, it's been studied in peer-reviewed journals for generations. What AI brought to the table was speed and scale. It let researchers analyze millions of patient records to confirm these patterns with statistical certainty. It helped identify which genes, beyond just ABO, might be influencing these outcomes. It made predictions about individual risk more personalized. But AI didn't expose some dangerous secret about type O. The real question isn't what AI found. The real question is how those findings got twisted into something frightening. Something viral, something that made millions of people suddenly worry about the blood running through their veins. The origin of the claim. The story starts with real science and ends with a viral lie. Somewhere in between, a legitimate medical study got stripped of its context, sensationalized, and turned into clickbait. In recent years, hospitals began using machine learning models to predict which trauma patients would need massive transfusions. These AI systems analyze factors like injury severity, vital signs, and yes, blood type. Researchers found that type O patients, on average, required more blood during emergency surgeries. The AI flagged blood type as one variable among many that helped predict transfusion needs. This wasn't shocking. It aligned with decades of research showing that type O individuals clot more slowly. The AI just made the prediction faster and more accurate. That study, published in a medical journal and intended for doctors, somehow made its way onto social media. And that's where the transformation happened. Scientists stunned by what artificial intelligence found. If you have type O blood, you need to see this. What got lost in translation was everything. The study wasn't about a genetic flaw. It was about improving emergency response. The AI wasn't uncovering hidden dangers, it was confirming known risks and using them to save lives. But nuance doesn't go viral, fear does. Within weeks, videos racked up millions of views, each one claiming that AI had exposed something sinister about the world's most common blood type. Some creators took it further, mixing real science with pure speculation. They combined the bleeding risk data with unrelated studies about disease susceptibility, about immune function, about evolutionary theories, and presented it all as if AI had connected these dots in some groundbreaking analysis. It hadn't. These were separate studies, separate findings, conducted by different researchers over different decades. AI was used in some of them as a tool for data analysis, not as some all-knowing oracle revealing forbidden knowledge. The phrase AI discovered became a weapon. It made everything sound more credible, more urgent, more mysterious. People trust technology. They trust the idea that machines can see patterns humans miss. So when someone says AI found something disturbing, it carries weight. It bypasses skepticism. It feels like proof, even when there's nothing to prove. Meanwhile, the actual scientists using AI in blood research were doing none of this. They were building models to detect rare antigens. They were optimizing blood bank inventory systems. They were mapping genetic variations to improve donor matching. Their work was careful, incremental, peer-reviewed. The gap between what AI is actually doing in laboratories and what social media claims it's doing has never been wider. Real AI applications in blood science are about efficiency, safety, and precision. Viral AI claims are about shock value and engagement metrics. One saves lives, the other generates ad revenue. While social media was busy turning medical research into horror stories, actual scientists were using artificial intelligence to revolutionize how blood systems work, how AI is transforming blood science. The real innovations happening in laboratories right now have nothing to do with exposing hidden flaws. They have everything to do with saving time, reducing errors, and making transfusions safer for everyone. This is where AI earns its place in modern medicine. Not through viral revelations, but through quiet, measurable progress. Blood banks operate on impossibly tight margins. They need to keep enough inventory to handle emergencies without letting donations expire unused. It's a constant balancing act. Too little supply and patients die waiting. Too much, and precious donations go to waste. Machine learning models are now predicting blood shortages before they happen. These systems analyze hospital admission rates, seasonal illness patterns, upcoming holidays, even local traffic accident data to forecast demand days or weeks in advance. When the algorithm predicts a shortage of type O negative blood, donation centers can launch targeted campaigns and coordinate emergency collections before the crisis hits. Matching donors to recipients used to be straightforward in theory, but complicated in practice. You match ABO type, you match RH factor, and you're done. Except it's never that simple. Beyond the basic blood groups, there are dozens of minor antigens that can trigger immune reactions. Some are rare. Some only matter in patients who've had multiple transfusions. Some are nearly impossible to detect with standard testing. AI systems trained on genetic databases can now screen for these hidden incompatibilities by analyzing donor and recipient DNA. The algorithms flag potential mismatches that human technicians would never catch, preventing transfusion reactions that could turn deadly. Speed matters in emergency medicine. When a trauma patient arrives bleeding, every second counts. Traditional blood typing takes 15 to 30 minutes, time the patient might not have. AI-powered rapid screening devices can now predict blood type from a single drop within 90 seconds by analyzing cell surface patterns with imaging technology and machine learning classification. The system isn't replacing lab confirmation, but it gives doctors a head start, letting them begin transfusions faster with a high probability of compatibility. Infectious disease screening has gotten smarter too. Blood donations are tested for HIV, hepatitis, and other pathogens, but traditional tests sometimes produce false positives that discard safe blood or false negatives that let infections through. Machine learning models are being trained to analyze test results alongside donor history, recent travel, regional outbreak data, and biomarker patterns to assess risk more accurately. The AI doesn't make the final call, but it gives technicians better information to work with, reducing waste from unnecessary rejections and catching threats that single test results might miss. Then there's the genetics. Scientists are using AI to map variations in the ABO gene that don't fit neat categories. Some people have hybrid blood types, unusual mutations, or extremely rare antigen combinations that make them nearly impossible to match with standard donors. Machine learning algorithms sift through population genetic databases, identifying these individuals and flagging them for specialized donor registries. When someone with a rare blood variant needs surgery, the system can instantly locate compatible donors anywhere in the network, even if that donor is across the country. AI is also modeling immune responses. When you receive a transfusion, your immune system decides whether to accept or attack the new blood cells. That decision depends on thousands of molecular interactions, most of which scientists don't fully understand yet. Neural networks trained on immunology data are beginning to predict which patients are at highest risk for rejection, which combinations of donor and recipient genetics will cause problems, and which transfusion protocols will minimize complications. This research is still experimental, but early results show promise. None of this is sinister. None of it exposes type O as defective. What's happening is that AI is making blood medicine more precise, more personalized, more efficient. It's turning blood typing from a blunt categorization system into a detailed genetic profile. It's catching errors before they happen and predicting problems before symptoms appear. The revolution isn't frightening. It's just finally giving doctors tools sharp enough to match the complexity of human biology. The evolutionary mystery of why blood type O dominates the world. If you mapped human blood types across the globe, you'd see something strange. Type O doesn't just exist everywhere, it dominates. In some indigenous populations of Central and South America, nearly 100% of people carry it. In parts of Africa, the Middle East, and Australia, it remains the most common type by a wide margin. Even in regions where type A and B are more prevalent, type O never disappears completely. For a genetic trait that supposedly offers no advantage, that's a remarkable level of persistence. Evolution doesn't preserve things by accident. So why did type O survive, spread, and thrive across every corner of the planet? The leading theory is disease. Ancient humans faced threats that modern medicine has made us forget. Malaria killed millions, plagues swept through populations, cholera turned villages into graveyards. Blood type influenced who lived and who died during these outbreaks. And over thousands of years, that selection pressure shaped the genetic makeup of entire continents. Type O offered some protection against malaria, which may explain why it's so common in tropical regions where the parasite has been endemic for millennia. Populations that carried more type O survived the disease waves better and passed those genes forward. But malaria doesn't explain everything. Type O is also dominant in places where malaria was never a major threat. Northern Europe, parts of Asia, the Arctic regions. Something else was at work. Some scientists believe type O may have been the original human blood type, present in our ancestors before we migrated out of Africa. As populations spread into new environments, mutations in the ABO gene created type A and B. These new variants offered their own advantages in different settings. Type A might have helped immune systems handle certain infections better. Type B might have been beneficial in colder climates or different diets. But type O remained the baseline, the default, the genetic foundation from which the others branched. Migration patterns tell part of the story. When humans crossed into the Americas over 15,000 years ago, they brought type O with them. Isolated from the populations that developed A and B, these groups remained almost exclusively type O. The same thing happened in Australia and remote Pacific islands. Genetic bottlenecks, where small groups founded new populations, locked in whatever blood types those founders carried. If the founders were type O, their descendants stayed type O for generations. AI-driven population genetics is helping scientists simulate these ancient migrations. Machine learning models can take modern genetic data and work backwards, estimating what ancestral populations looked like and how blood type distribution shifted over time. These simulations suggest that type O frequencies fluctuated wildly depending on which diseases were circulating in a given era. During plague outbreaks in medieval Europe, type O might have spiked if it offered any resistance advantage. During cholera epidemics, it might have declined. The genetic landscape was constantly shifting, shaped by invisible evolutionary pressures. There's also the possibility that type O offered non-disease advantages. Some researchers speculate that the lack of A and B antigens might have reduced autoimmune risks, where the body attacks its own cells by mistake. Others suggest that type O's clotting differences, while dangerous in trauma, might have prevented deadly blood clots in populations with different lifestyles or diets. The clean, unmarked surface of type O red blood cells might simply be more biochemically stable in certain environments. What makes this genuinely mysterious is that we still don't have a complete answer. Despite decades of research, despite AI models crunching through millions of genomes, scientists can't pinpoint exactly why type O became so dominant. There's no single smoking gun, no one disease or advantage that explains its global spread. It's more likely a combination of factors, layered across time and geography, each one pushing type O's frequency a little higher in different populations for different reasons. This is the real mystery of type O. Not a disturbing flaw, not a hidden danger, but an evolutionary puzzle that stretches back to the origins of humanity itself. AI is helping solve pieces of it, filling in gaps, testing theories against data, but the full picture remains incomplete, a reminder that even our most common traits still hold secrets we haven't entirely decoded. The promise of personalized medicine has always been the same. Know your genetics, predict your risks, prevent diseases before they start. Blood type seems like it should fit perfectly into that vision. It's simple, easy to test, and clearly linked to certain health outcomes. So the question becomes, can artificial intelligence use your blood type to map out your medical future? The future. Can AI predict your health from your blood type? The answer is more complicated than a simple yes or no. AI can already identify correlations between blood type and disease risk. It knows type O has lower cardiovascular risk, but higher bleeding risk. It knows type A is associated with higher stomach cancer rates in certain populations. It knows type B has different susceptibility patterns to infections. These aren't predictions. They're statistical likelihoods drawn from massive data sets. But likelihood isn't destiny. Having type O doesn't mean you'll bleed out in an accident. It means if you do get injured, your risk is slightly elevated compared to someone with type A. That distinction matters. The real frontier is combining blood type with everything else. Your genome contains roughly 20,000 genes, and blood type is controlled by just one. Machine learning models are being developed to analyze polygenic risk scores, which factor in thousands of genetic variants across your entire DNA to estimate disease probability. Blood type becomes one variable among many, weighted according to how much it actually matters for each specific condition. For heart disease, it might carry more weight. For diabetes, it might barely register. AI can calculate these scores and generate personalized risk profiles that are far more accurate than blood type alone could ever be. Then there's the microbiome. Your gut bacteria interact with your blood type in ways scientists are only beginning to understand. Type O individuals have different microbial populations than type A or B, and those bacteria influence everything from digestion to immune function to mental health. AI models that incorporate microbiome data alongside genetic data are showing that blood type affects health partly through these microbial partnerships. The algorithm can predict which probiotic strains might benefit you most, which foods your body will process efficiently, even which medications your gut bacteria might interfere with. Blood type is part of that equation, but it's one piece in a much larger biological puzzle. AI is powerful, but it's not magic. It can't predict your future with certainty because biology isn't deterministic. You could have every genetic risk factor for heart disease and still live to 90, because you exercised, ate well, and got lucky. You could have zero risk factors and still get sick because of environmental exposure or random chance. What AI offers is probability, not prophecy. It tells you where to focus your attention, which screenings to prioritize, which lifestyle changes might have the biggest impact. The biggest limitation is interpretation. An algorithm can spit out a risk percentage, but it takes a doctor to explain what that number actually means for your life. Should you change your diet? Start medication? Get tested more frequently? These are medical decisions that require human judgment, not just data analysis. AI provides the information. Medicine decides what to do with it. Blood type will always be part of your health story, but it's never the whole story. AI isn't uncovering something disturbing hidden in type O genetics. It's helping decode the staggering complexity of human biology, one data point at a time. The future isn't about AI exposing secrets. It's about AI giving doctors better tools to keep you healthy, regardless of what type of blood runs through your veins. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and click on the next video shown on your screen.